Hello and welcome into episode 9 of SorareData Office Hours. I'm Andrew Laird. You can find me as Lairdinho on Sorare. Joined, as always, at least when I'm here, by Maxime Hagenbourger, maximehg on Sorare. Maxime, do you want to just give everyone the info that they want, like right away?
Yeah, so we are down. It should be like 15-20 minutes. We're not deploying anything. It's just like infrastructure stuff. So hopefully we're back in like
And for those of you who are not watching us live, everything's fine. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, probably it's probably going to be fine at that time.
Thank you to everyone who has joined us live. ZM Star is piggybacking, Maxime, on your 50% captain bonus idea, which, again, for how many times I get captain right, I would hate that. In fact, we should just get rid of captains so I can stop getting them wrong. But Arvind is here. J-Vic was third. Mike Baston, who was saying that you and Clement were just showing everything. It's giving away the secrets, guys. Crazy. Shaforkle, hello. Mike Baston said he got his first top 100 in All-Star Rare. Mike, that is a big achievement. Congratulations, especially on a weekend. There were some huge scores this weekend, I feel like. Or maybe it was just that my scores were not that big. But anyway. Victor, hello. Scosmo, thanks for joining. Kai, bonjour. Jao Nunez, good afternoon. I'm still in the morning, just for a little bit. Harry, hello. Manuel, wow, got 70th in MLS Amateur and never watched a single MLS game. Probably for the better, to be honest, but we'll see. And then Didi Sorare,
yeah.
Best of luck. You're not a big MLS watcher, are you?
I am, and that's why I I would never tell someone to actually watch MLS games.
Harsh. Fair, but harsh.
No, especially on Apple TV Plus.
What's that?
Oh, I say especially on Apple TV Plus. I mean, the experience is not good. And they actually sent an email the other day, and I was like, they asked about the MLS season pass, and I was like, are you from 1 to 5 happy or unhappy? And I said unhappy 1. And I'm like, that's the only bad thing I said about Apple on this survey, but I was glad I had the opportunity to say it.
They make some questionable decisions while televising football matches on Apple TV. So we'll put it that way. Hoodwink, thanks for joining as well. Maxime, today I think is going to go down as one of the biggest days in Sorare history because it's the first day of Lister play. How do you feel? What's so funny?
No, so I was on a French stream just before, and I said, one thing that is very important during that time is that you don't that you don't take decisions based on emotion, right? And based on current market state. And I feel like it's like somewhat like good gameplay decision, let's say, because I feel like that would have made sense, like at the beginning of the game, saying like basically you can either play a card or list it. And I think that kind of makes sense in terms of gameplay. I'm not entirely sure it does completely, but it does somewhat. But my biggest fear is that they probably will remove it during like a bull market or something like that. Because like, I mean, the idea is to drive prices up. I mean, like, okay, you can say that it's like strategic choices for your gameplay, whatever. Like, I get that. Okay, fine. But doing that during a bull market, during a bear market, yeah, I don't know. I don't think you would ever do that during a bull market. I'm not even sure you would do that during a stable market. I don't think it improves much in terms of the gameplay much. And I think it will bring some weird market dynamics, like some people like just flooding the market with certain players during like certain times. But also that would give an edge to people like trying, like really deciding not to play a card during a game week to try to sell it. So I mean that like brings some very interesting strategic choices. but really, I'm not sure you would like continue with that feature during a bull market.
Yeah, that is something that like I had never really thought of that you have brought up a few times. Just like decisions you make now should not be reactive of what's happening now. So if they were good in a bear market, if it's a good decision in a bear market, but a bad decision in a bull market, then you need to think of that because the decisions you make, you don't know when the bull or bear is going to come. And so the rules should be good for both. Do you think?
Well, yeah, and not necessarily good for both, but at least like you plan that, like you could say like we are enabling the list or play feature, and we are reassessing every month if based on a list of criteria if the feature makes sense to still be there during market conditions, during those market conditions. And you can say also like, yeah, you have to say, you have to be pretty clear about that, because one thing people are going to tell you when prices are going to go up, when they do, and if they do, is remove that useless feature you introduced back in the days, because I want to sell my card, like, and not make the prices go even higher than they're supposed to.
Yeah, I think it was during our stream yesterday. Haber, who is here at some point. Hello, Haber. He is on. Very excited about Lister play, but I don't know if he was being serious or not, because you never know with Haber, especially when he's just typing. But he said for the first 6 months that he was on Sorare, he thought you couldn't play a card that you had listed. And I feel like it's one of those things that if you didn't know, it would be understandable to think either way, because you're like, oh no, I can't play this card because I have it, I'm trying to sell it, or the possibility that like your lineup is canceled if you do sell a card in it. Like, I think it's one of those things that if that had always been the rule, then we would have been fine and nobody would have been like,
Yeah,
you know, it'd be better if we could do both. But because they allowed us to do both,
yeah, no, but
we're going to always want to be able to do both.
no, I completely agree, and that's why I'm saying it makes sense somewhat. But yeah, I think that probably you should introduce that rule during like more like stable market conditions if you feel that's something that is beneficial for your gameplay. And yeah, I mean, sometimes you're going to root for your lineup to bust, because if you feel like your lineup is bust, like you can already like you know, list your card. So it's going to like bring some really weird market dynamics, I think, like in weird in sense that we never saw these kinds of dynamics. So I'm really curious to see how the market is going to react with this new feature. But I'm like, why not? I mean, at least they're trying to do something and to change and to shake up the market a bit. And I think like on the paper, you think about that, you see like also Kimmich is not going to be on the market during like most of the game weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And are there going to be like people like not playing Kimmich to actually sell the card? I mean, that's interesting. I mean,
I think the more interesting dynamic they could have built in is that if the card sells, that's when the lineup is canceled. Kind of like how training lineups are canceled if one of those cards, or I don't even know if that's the case anymore with training lineups. I haven't tried yet. But that I think is because you can take the risk. And now they're not even really letting us take the risk where we have to decide like right away. And I actually think allowing us to take the risk is, if they're trying to hide this behind some sort of game strategy, I think that's the game strategy that's more interesting than not even being able to list a card.
and also I think like if you're Sorare, that's going to be very interesting for you, because you're going to be able to sell cards a bit better, because if Kimmich is playing and everyone is playing Kimmich, I mean, you're just going to sell Kimmich on auction, and you're like, I'm getting the money. And I mean, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, because auctions are very important in terms of like evaluating a player price. And so I mean, if Sorare sells well their cards, that should benefit to players also.
Yeah, I guess. Speaking of the marketplace, they introduced the new card grouping, and I was curious what you thought about it. Actually, I know how you think about it, but I'm sure everybody else here would like to know, unless you've changed your mind.
No, I mean, so first thing is I don't like the default setting on later season. That's the main problem I have with the feature. Other than that, I think that overall it's not a bad feature. I don't think it will change dramatically stuff, but I mean that it does make sense. I'm like, I don't know. Yeah, latest season doesn't make sense to me. And it kind of creates like a weird, a weird competition between like managers, right? And I'm not sure that's bad or good or bad. I mean, I'm not really a secondary market seller, so I don't really know. I don't have like a lot of a strong opinion about that. But I'm not following social media anymore, so I'd be pretty curious to know what the chat thinks about that, and if it does really change things. I don't really think it changes anything.
I think it just makes it harder to sell the older cards. Like so this is some real SorareData office hour thing. So I have no background in design, and as I try to like somewhat design things that we share, our actual designers see them and they cringe, and then they completely redo them. But one of the things that I never thought of when it came to design, which is because I have no experience or background in design, is how much emphasis and thought is put into how something is actually used. And it's not just make it look good, but it's, does this being here make sense? Or does putting this in this order make sense? And on top of that, how important and how much of an effect default settings are. And so when we introduce things and we have discussions like, should this be the default? And it's like, well, we think everyone will use it. And it's like, well, that doesn't always necessarily make the default the right answer. And I appreciate that they have this like latest season toggle, but having it on makes it like so much more difficult for managers who are trying to sell older cards to get their cards seen by enough people. And I realize that like if you turn it off, then it stays off, but the default is on. And so there are a lot of cards, like they're actually not showing us in many cases the cheapest cards on the market. Like they have a buy lowest price button here, but a lot of times the cards they show in the default are not the lowest. And so it's kind of a weird result.
It's the lowest for the season, right?
What's that?
It's the lowest for the season.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't really like it. I don't really like the default later season, but other than that, I think like it's a good thing to. And
I like
like splitting, yeah, but splitting by season doesn't make much sense to me.
I think you can even make the argument like that there are times where they're actually hiding higher XP cards too. Like there could be older cards that have higher XP than the new cards, and you won't see them. Yeah. I also wanted to point out Metal Gear also noticed that Mbappe has finally defeated Gift Orban to place higher in whatever this popular player feature or filter is.
Yeah, just interrupting you right now. I'm going to put the website online. I've seen many. So, Andrew, we can now reveal that we actually put the maintenance mode on because we wanted people to actually come and see the office hour stream. Right, that's the only thing
The only reason people are watching.
Yeah, the only reason, yeah. Also, the site is going back on. It take a bit of time to be like at like normal speed. Sorry for the delay. And no worries, I can speak to Andrew and speak to you guys and handle bugs at the same time. That's okay. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like they're going to see if that helps selling cards, I guess. And if it does, yeah, they'll probably continue with the change. If it doesn't, I mean, I think like what they do is actually like trying stuff to see if it helps people like finding the right card and also buying the right card. But one of the feedbacks I've given to them was, I feel like if you have the default latest season, you're going to buy a latest season card while you can buy a lowest price for another season. And if you're new to the platform, you're not necessarily like understanding that at the beginning. And that's my main concern. Like, I think like one thing that is very important in Sorare's onboarding is like make sure that people understand when they're buying a card that they're buying it at like not an crazy price, but also probably the best option available on the market. And what they show is not the best option available on the market by default. They show the best latest season card, which is completely different.
Right, completely different. Speaking of defaults, as they now default to popular player and not either newly listed or what they considered best value, which was always just the price divided by L5, which I don't think anybody is reasonably making a value judgment based on that. But one of the comments here, Nanzo was saying removing Rare Pro would also make sense to a layman, but that doesn't make it a good decision, which I think is a great line.
I don't think it would make sense, to be honest, but I agree with the statement. I mean, yeah, I think they have to try. I think that's good that they're trying things. You can't always be. You won't succeed every time, obviously, but I think they're trying to encourage people to sell their cards differently, maybe with that feature. So I don't know. I mean, let's see the results and let's see if we see like good offer volumes in the coming days. And if we do, probably that's because they made the change, right?
I also like this. Nanzo saying you should have only put the site back if we had 100 likes on the video. We'll have to do that next time when we take it down.
Yeah. It's going to be done every Tuesday now.
Just to make sure everyone's paying attention. That's all.
But the next time the maintenance page has to be like a YouTube embedded video of our stream.
So what do they call this card stacking, card grouping?
Yeah,
I've already forgotten. Reminded me of something, and I'm just going to point it out because there are a lot of people who don't necessarily know it's like one of those things that we have on the site that not everyone notices, even though we have a bunch of things about it. But if you are on the live market page and you're just looking through cards and you want to see all the ones that are on the market, if you just click the floor price link, it'll show you all of the cards that are on the market for this player. It's kind of like a grouping. That's all. Reminded me of it when we were talking about it.
Yeah,
so but if anybody's looking for an Enzo Perez limited card.
And if you click on the left number, you see the price graph and stuff like that. That's a pro trick. I mean, until you can't discover this on your own, probably.
No, I don't think so.
Or maybe you misclick at some point and you're like, oh.
Yeah.
How did I get there?
I will also point out that if you are on the auction page, it works the same way. You get the floor. But if you click the current price, it brings you right to Sorare.
I mean,
and then you can just place your bid on Pedro Diaz.
Probably not. But yeah. And actually, so, we are during office hours, so that's a great time to actually tell that story. But I have a like the culture in at SorareData is a bit like for most of the time I was doing stuff on my own and like didn't really have a product roadmap, let's say. And with like we are now like 11 right now, so obviously I can't do shit on my own. I'm going to do stuff like a pirate stuff, let's say. And no later than yesterday, we decided to launch our very first official pirate project. And so the the objective of the pirate project is like to basically release something as soon as possible and like just say probably like hell to every other things that was being worked on, and we're going to release something about the problem is I have COVID right now, so it's like I'm COVID positive since probably yesterday, but I discovered it today, so it's going to slow things down a bit. But yeah, expect some changes in the market pages and below cards. You don't even know about this, right?
I don't know.
No, yeah. That's the whole spirit of pirate projects. I'm assembling a crew and I'm like, that's a great idea. We should do it as soon as we can. And maybe people will completely hate it, and we'll be like, okay, fine. And we hope people are going to like the idea. But that's something we had in mind for quite some time, and I'm like, okay, now we have to do it. So that's going to be exciting.
Do you find that we're moving slower because we have more people now, or is it just there are too many big things?
Yeah, also, and me like having too many subjects on my plate right now. Like behind the scenes, the stuff are moving, let's say, and so yeah, I don't have the time to actually like spend hours on a feature. But yeah, so that's why I think it's important like to keep that possibility, like for some people to drop everything and just say we have to do this and we have to do it now. And that's why I think that's a good thing to have, like while we are like 15 to 20 employees. I think that makes sense. When you're starting to be 50 to 100, I think that starts to be a problem. But I like the idea to be like kind of in a hackathon mode, and you're like, okay, we have this idea, it's a great idea. You have the product manager saying that's a great idea, we should do it, and you just say, okay, let's do it right now.
It goes back to a few questions in chat. Rel was wondering if we are talking here who's actually working.
Yeah, no one.
Yeah, nobody. Jakun was saying, don't we have 200 employees? And Hoodwink was right. More than 2, less than 200.
Yeah. No. So we are 11 right now, and we lack some like technical profiles. And hopefully, I will be able to share more plans about like how many people we are recruiting like in the coming months or other weeks, I hope. And so, yeah, I'll share the plans when they're ready.
Oh, Pascal said he has a great one. Bring the cups back.
Yeah, no, that's definitely not going to happen.
Our list is long and that's not on it.
Yeah, never going to be on it. No, so I mean, yeah, Kai says times with no real project roadmap. Yeah, I mean, that was a fun time. I was like working with one person at a time. Pap, you probably know about Pap if you have been watching some of the old SorareData streams. And we were kind of like, oh, that should be great for the community and great for the ecosystem, and let's do that. And I guess that's where you bring the most value to your users, because I think what makes our data a bit unique is that people seems to like the fact that we're pretty flexible and we are improving, like trying to improve stuff pretty fast. But I think that like in normal companies that doesn't happen. Like Google Maps and stuff like that. I've been like Google Maps has introduced a change, like a so slight change in their interface, and it has to be like the only change they have been introducing in the past 6 months or something. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. But it was like so little. But yeah, we have to like make sure that we benefit from the fact that we are a small team and don't get like too comfortable.
Yeah, I actually want to go. I have a bunch of questions on that. First off, Dario, hello. One of the first Sorare Andrews, maybe back when I was still at RotoWire, was talking to you about SorareData, and I think it was before. It was definitely before. Well, I was at RotoWire, so certainly before I started working here. But at what point, when you were working on the site, where you were like, "Oh wait, this could turn into a business and like my business," because it was just kind of like, it's not like when you first started it, you did it to help you play Sorare. But
no,
how long until you were like, wait, this could actually be something real?
No, I think it was pretty clear when I started the website that I wanted to like do something pretty big. But like it became pretty clear when I had to quit my job, and I had a pretty stable situation. We sold the company, so I was in a company called Blockchain Partner. We sold the company to KPMG France, and I had like a pretty good position at KPMG, and I could have like worked there, did my hours and stuff like that. But like the Sorare ecosystem at that time was so exciting, and so like it was really moving fast. And so yeah, I was like, when I started looking for funding and I saw that people were ready to fund us, I was like, okay, that might become something. But then it felt kind of natural. The whole evolution felt kind of natural, and I'm pretty confident we are going to be able to share the next evolution in the coming weeks. But like it feels like pretty natural, and it feels all like following along the plan that we have.
Yeah. It's the behind the scenes stuff that people come here for, other than finding out when the site's going back up.
So let me go to that Pascal comment. So he says, I think the grades for projections, AA, etc. are weird in uncapped mode. Grade features seem to take precedence on player score history, often get recommended crap players with good features. So, I mean, I would say completely the opposite. I think like projection, like pick scores are weird for capped modes and not weird for uncapped modes. But again, it's like, it's an algorithm taking many stuff into account, and yeah, sometimes you're probably going to think that, as you said, Pascal, like some aspect of the pick score has too much weight and some other aspect has not enough. And I mean, it's still moving. I think the feature is still beta today, so like we're improving as we see results and stuff like that. But I mean, I feel like, so this week, Andrew, I'm making like tons of money thanks to Sorare, because I'm making like 1 super rare, 5 rares, and 1 limited card, and also 0.33 ETH. And that's all recommended lineups. I'm not saying that I would have done worse or better if I've done my lineups on my own. But I feel like we are at a point where we recommend like one of the best lineups available. And of course, we are not recommending the best lineup, and we will never like consistently recommend the best lineup. Like we don't see the future, obviously. But I think like if you're trying to use suggestions and pick scores like relatively often, you'd get consistent good results. But yeah, obviously, if you see weird pick scores, Pascal, for example, do you think that it's completely messed up? Our Slack channel also contain examples of like Andrew saying why this guy has this pick score. So we debate internally, and that also helps like understanding where the algorithm can be wrong and where we can improve. So yeah, definitely, please send some examples to support if you found some.
Yeah, I was also just going to point out that you can always also just see how it weights certain, like if you just hover over the pick score itself, you can see where we think like how it rates for each one. So if you think one is maybe taking into account or somebody's score is not high enough, sometimes that happens because like the odds are missing or we don't have the full projected lineup accuracy on there. So that's all.
Yeah.
I'm jealous that he has so many AAAs. I feel like I don't have any ever. Except for Messi.
My problem is goalkeepers. I like AAA goalkeepers.
Goalkeepers it's always the problem in the game.
Yeah. So, and by the way, Andrew, I won my first cap 240 super rare threshold with my goalkeeper being suspended for the game week. So made 265 points. 265. I'm like, it's like not even close.
Yeah.
265 with only 4 players.
Let's see here. I was about to say, oh no, that was mine. I came up short and I had 5 players. I will say, because somebody mentioned on the, basically the pick scores for cap mode. So one of the reasons why sometimes they look weird is because we obviously put an emphasis on the player's ability to outscore their L15, because that's really important when it comes to cap. But I find it gets to be a weird situation where if you have a few guys who are very good, and then all of a sudden you have somebody with an L15 of 55 or 60 who fits, and they're like an E or an F, and you're like, I don't really want to play them. But they're not really an F. They're just an F versus their cap score. But because you can fit them, it's a little like mental thing that I just need to get over, I think.
Yeah, and also like that's the first iteration of pick scores, obviously. And I think that when we designed it, the idea that we had was to have like a global pick score, obviously, but also like a gallery pick score, like based on the other players on your gallery. Like, is this the best player that you can have? But you can have that today, basically, like by just like ranking based on the pick score. But like it can be frustrating to see that you don't have AAAs, but you don't have AAAs because some players exist in the Sorare ecosystem. Some football players have Sorare cards that are a bit better than yours this game. That's the only thing that the pick score is saying.
Right, because the pick scores are not independent. Like they're based on comparing them to other players in a specific competition, which is why a player could have a different pick score in All-Star versus U23. There's a video on our YouTube channel if anybody wants to check that out. That explains it all. But that's it. Like if you could have a really good player and there are probably better players somewhere, and if there are enough better players, then your player's score will go down.
Yeah, I think the AAA
stack with nobody who actually plays for Liga.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Only French players. I mean, Liga 1 cards. So that's pretty cool. I mean, I like that lineup. And yeah, I feel
you would have never gotten it if you hadn't bought that super rare goalkeeper.
No, I feel so offended that the first time I get the threshold is when I don't like have my goalkeeper playing, and like he costs like 50.
He's gonna you're gonna start winning rewards. It's already paying back.
Yeah. 0.2 something.
Yeah, 0.22. Oh, 1-1.
No, 0.1104. But in All-Star Rare Pro, I'm winning 0.2 or something.
Saw that. It's a nice line. I noticed that you're playing two super rares there too.
I feel like play one. So I mean, one simple advice for you, Andrew, and for anyone listening: if you have a midfielder that is playing against Troyes, just play it. Just play the midfielder. Like, okay, it's like just do it. Like, trust me on this one. Troyes sucks. Like look at like Troyes against Marseille. Like you get the two formations, yeah, right. I mean, I had Rongier, right? He scored 98. Rongier super rare that game week. That was pretty cool. No, Troyes is one of the weakest Ligue 1 side right now, and
Yeah.
like just play players against Troyes. It's probably a good matchup.
Are they staying up? I don't even know.
No, they're probably going down. So we have like 4 clubs that are going down this season.
Oh, right.
And so you see, Nantes it's pretty close to relegation, right?
Mm.
So 17, 18, 19, and 20 go down. And so we are tied at 32 points with 2 other teams.
That's no good.
Yeah, and we played against Troyes, and like, I mean, that was a shit show. I mean, and we are playing in the National Cup final on Saturday, which is crazy because we could qualify for UEFA Europa League with the win and still be relegated to
And still be
League 2.
relegated.
So that's a bit weird.
I think they should do away with that. I think you should automatically stay up.
No, but that's not possible to give like, and especially this year when you have 4 relegations. Right?
I think I thought that happened to Wigan a few years ago. They didn't win the FA Cup though, or maybe they did. I don't know. But they were in the final and then got relegated. Never heard of again.
Yeah, like Nantes is like, I see in the chat people like expecting more from us, and yeah, I mean we're choosing our games, right? Like, and I feel like when you're 1 week away from playing in the National Cup final, you're like, and playing against the 18th in the league, and you're like, we're going to crush them. You're leading 1-0 at halftime. You're like, they didn't like barely any shots on goal. Okay. And suddenly 92nd minute, you're like down 2-1, and you're scoring at the 96th minute, and you're waiting 4 minutes that the referee actually decides if there was an handball during the scoring action. And so that was pretty nerve-wracking. And to be honest, like at 2-1, I cut the stream and I was like, I'm done with this shit. I'm not watching not football again. And checked on SorareData, and so 2-2, I was like, what?
Pulled you right back in.
Yeah, pulled right back in, and like was like the ref was actually like, so do you know about this rule? So the ball actually hits like the biceps, like the like, well, between the biceps and the shoulder, right? And for most people, like that's a handball. But the referee explained after the game that if you're not the scoring guy, if the so that's the first condition. If you score, if the same player gets the ball on the biceps and scores, that's a handball first. But if you're not scoring on that on the same action, if the ball lands on the like sleeve, on the short sleeve, that's not a handball.
Sounds made up.
I
will
mean,
say,
he's a very good ref.
I've seen some videos that they have microphones on the referees in some. Is it all matches in France?
No. So it's not. But like after the game, he went on like a post-game interview.
No, I know, but I've seen some videos that they have put mics.
No, but they like no. They want to do that in live. They want like in the rugby league in France. During the live broadcast, you hear what the referee is actually saying to the players.
I love that. Love that idea.
And they should do the same with like NBA and stuff like that.
Yeah. Florian was coming in saying that Wigan did win the FA Cup and now they're going to League One, which that's no good.
Yeah, did you see
League One is actually the third league.
Yeah. But like professional football starts at League Two, right? In England, so that's a bit weird. But if you're like professional football in France, start with the third division, and like some clubs in the third division are not like professional football clubs. So you could be a baker and still like play in third division in France.
If you told me there were 17 levels of professional football in England, I'd believe you. All with misnumbered levels too. Do you think we're going to how do we deal with canceled lineups during game weeks now?
So I have to work on that like after the stream. So I think what I'm going to do is that I think I've talked to Sorare about that. I think they are doing like a 0 power for your lineup, and so I think that's what I'm going to do. So we'll have something that is going to check consistently, like not consistently, regularly, like every minute, like if every card that has been played is still in the possession of like the owner. And we are going to check also if the card is listed on the market or not. So yeah, obviously a bit more work for us, but I mean, we can adapt, right? But yeah, I mean, I don't know about that, to be honest. Yeah. Yeah, the more I think about that, like the more I think that's a very good bad idea.
Took me a second.
No, but yeah, like yeah, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It's like cap modes. So I'm not saying, Andrew, we should get rid of like cap 220 and cap 270, and we should finally get a limited pro divisions, and introduce a floor division that is in competition with cap 240. So like a floor 300 and a cap 240 division, and you choose either like which one you actually want to play, and floor has like twice the reward that the cap division. And let's just get rid of like cap 220 and cap 270.
I feel like that solves, or that's a decent replacement for 270. But what do you do with all those cap 220 cards? They're just worthless now.
Yeah, as they should be. No, so one thing I was saying like just earlier is that, so the problem I think with like we talked about that I think last week. The problem with adding too many licenses is that you now have like, so why do you add licenses, right? You add licenses to have more people coming to your game. So let's say that they had the football club that is playing near you, Andrew, and you're like, oh great, I'm going to buy cards of like the team. I don't know which team plays near you, but whatever. So you're trying to get more players like playing your game, right? But the problem is the value of your player is driven by only one thing today. It's driven by SO5 utility, and it's driven by is your player going to be competitive in SO5 competitions, right? So you end up with second division players like Vanitsek. It's the good example, but there are also other second division players that also are good examples. So Vanitsek is worth like 0.43 as a rare card on the market today, which is like more than Lukaku, more than like many famous players. And he's worth a lot because, yeah, I mean, he scores great. He has like consistency and stuff like that. I mean, like he has great SO5 utility. You can win stuff with him through All-Star Rare, All-Star Rare Pro. I mean, no question about that. But the thing is, so he's playing for who already? Karlsruhe. Karlsruhe is okay. So is someone supporting Karlsruhe SC going to buy Vanitsek today? Absolutely not, because he's way too expensive. So the idea you had by adding more cards and probably at a lower entry point, because second Bundesliga cards are not going to be popular, and because like less people care about second Bundesliga. So you end up like selling cards based on their SO5 value and not like collectible value or like popularity and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're selling way more cards, and you're diluting your value on like way more cards, way more powerful cards. And I think that's a problem. And I think that we should have a hierarchy of SO5 division that is reworked, so that Vanitsek is powerful only with second division, like in second Europe divisions, and that is not a powerful card in All-Star. And that way you solve stuff. I mean, that means that if you want, and second divisions, second Europe divisions should include in prize pools like I don't know, All-Star rewards or Champion Europe rewards or stuff like that. Like, I mean, they should include like rewards that are a bit better than the divisions you're playing in. But why am I saying that is because, yeah, I feel like you have like too many cards that are worth too much for like something that is only related to Sorare and not like the real football world, right? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
You play FIFA tomorrow, you start playing FIFA in your Ultimate Team, you have like bad players from all around the world, and then you go up to actually get the players that get you with more like overall ratings and stuff like that. And so I don't think anyone dreams of like winning one Itzek on a fantasy football game. Like, if you say that, oh man, the card you're going to win this week is Vanitsek, your game, I don't think it works. Like, and so like, you're only showing second division Europe, but if you show all leagues, when you take it like third, I think. So let's see. Yeah, it's third. Guerrero is
Right before Messi.
yeah. Cezinha is fifth. I mean, no one cares about Cezinha. Fabio Borini, no one cares about him. Never heard of him. Romulo, I'm not even talking about Romulo, but that's kind of like an edge case because he's not printed anymore. Leandro Gonzalez Pires, I don't know who you are, but I mean, congrats for your scoring, right? Lucas Fernandez, same thing. So, Solly March, Fernando Marçal, stuff like that. I mean,
I had no idea Lucas Fernandez was playing that well.
Vinicius is 14th, but like, I don't know if he's still playing. Yeah, he's still playing. Vinicius is only 14th in our power rankings, right? And so I think based on valuation, you can also sort by valuation. I think that makes also more sense to see. I think that
What happened here with Oleg?
yeah, someone like probably sold him like, I don't know, weird stuff. Yeah.
Oh, ChatGPT.
ChatGPT, yeah, right.
Good sell.
But let's say, so Mbappe, Haaland, Vinicius, that makes more sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Maignan, Douglas Santos. I don't think Douglas Santos is an attractive card, right? But you're going to end up with like some players being there while they don't actually belong there, because like their price is inflated because of their SO5 performances. So yeah, I think that the whole like division hierarchy should be reworked to actually make sure that, I think like PvE divisions should include like all players from around the world, right? But I think like play like second division players should not be playable in All-Star divisions, and I'm not even sure that All-Star divisions still make sense today.
So the second division thing was, I started thinking about it more when Lister Play came out, because it felt like one of those things that was announced and everybody got really angry. And then within a day or two, we just accepted it, which is exactly like with the second division. I remember the day it came out, everyone was like, this is absurd. And then I think it was actually Tony Watt who said it, was talking about how like the second division players in England or Spain are better than most players in Belgium and most of the teams in the Netherlands. And it was like, if you're trying to find value for players who are actually good, like then you can't ignore these second division, because you have to be, in real life, you have to be a very, very, very good footballer even to make those teams.
Yeah.
And so at that point, I was like, maybe it's true that players in Belgium are not as good as the second division in Spain. So why are we thinking that all of the players in Belgium are better just because they happen to be in the first division? But I think it still goes, like, I don't think anybody cares about either of them, really. Like, most people who are not currently involved in Sorare don't know players in either of those leagues. Like, they're kind of both whatever. But I think because we've really done nothing in terms of, not we, because there's nothing built in the game in terms of collectability, and that should make a player like Messi or Mbappe or Benzema or Vinicius, guys like that, more valuable, because like we want those cards. Like, we're just playing the game. And that's why Wanazek and Romelu and Barini, like that's why those guys are valuable, because they're helpful in this game that we're playing. So I don't think there's any way to separate them just based on that, as long as like the game is the focus.
Yeah, actually. Yeah. Well, if Wanitsek is not like it's not like giving you good odds to win like a T0, I mean, or like an all-star T0, I think his price will probably drop to to way lower than what he is at today. So yeah, I think that like I'm not sure that like letting second division clubs play with like all-star in all-star made much sense. But also, like, to me, Challenger Europe today doesn't make sense. Like, you have like Eredivisie playing with Austrian Bundesliga, with Elitserien, like Superliga in Denmark, with Belgium, obviously. Yeah, I'm not sure that makes sense. And I think we should have, and it's probably difficult to have like a simple split of teams other than like based on where they are located, right? But I think at the end of the day, the Champion Europe division has to be the division where you get the best prices, because these are the divisions where all the great players are playing in, right?
I think you could make the argument that Champion Europe should be excluded from All-Star and not exclude the smaller ones from All-Star.
Yeah, no. Well, my point is maybe you just should get rid of All Star as a whole, right?
I think part of the game thrives on being able to take any of these players. Skazmo also brings up the point with players like, although Wantazek's kind of a weird case because he's on the older side of, like, usually it's guys we've never heard of, but you have that possibility that they transfer and effectively go to zero. Whereas the Champion Europe players,
No, but
despite price graphs recently, are probably not going to actual zero.
no, but what I mean is that like winning one Itsec today as one of the best rewards available, does that make sense? I don't think so. And it actually happens today.
I think it makes sense as long as they are fully selling themselves as a game, because he's one of the best players in the game. Like meaning in the game that we play, not in terms of football. As weird as that sounds.
No, but what I mean is that like Benzema is obviously a way more valuable player
Mhm.
than Van Dijk or any kind of like second division player, and probably most of Champion Europe players, right? But today the game doesn't reflect that reality, right? And I think it adds kind of like I don't know how to say that correctly in English, but it's like it's kind of sexy to see that like all players are treated as equal, right? Like if you play well during a League Two game, you probably get the same score that if someone plays well during like a Premier League game. But the Premier League game is so much more competitive than a League Two game. So to me, that doesn't make sense, right? I was never like for like actually like providing value to tier 4, tier 5 cards or tier 3 or less artificially, right? Because to me that doesn't make sense. I mean that like providing value to a player that is not very valuable on the pitch, I don't really get that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Nanzo brought up, and I think someone else did.
Yeah, exactly.
Just
No,
make
but
the
that's the
region
whole point.
valuable.
That's the whole point. I mean
Reward-wise.
that, yeah. I mean, Champion Europe like you should have the best rewards in Champion Europe, and you point out like obviously like bigger prices. Like I mean, Champion Europe players will then be worth way more than the other players because that's how it works in the real world, right? I mean, at the end of the day, you don't care about the Karlsruhe game. You want to see play Real Madrid against Barcelona. You don't want to see Karlsruhe playing their local derby or whatever. I mean, I like seeing other teams play football and stuff like that. I enjoy watching a Jupiler Pro League game. Fine. But that doesn't make sense that a lineup with 5 second division players gets you like at the top of a leaderboard on Sorare that can get you like to Benzema or stuff like that. I don't think that makes sense, but I might be wrong. And if your philosophy is like, no, you should be able to like scout the second division players to actually get to the top directly through all-star divisions, fine. I probably don't share that philosophy, but
Yeah,
fine.
I think the difference though is that like the top of the Champion Europe prize pool is always going to be somebody good because you're getting a Champion Europe tier 0. So like I feel like we've already, and obviously you can win them in All Star, but
no, but
if you
then not
play an
anymore.
All Star, you're taking the risk that you win Wanderzeck and not Benzema.
Yeah, but not anymore. Because Van Dijk is worth more than probably most of Champion Europe players, right?
Maybe.
Like, for example, like Van Dijk. So let's check, like, I have watched this somewhere that can help with that. So if you look at, for example, Tier 1 Champion Europe Limited. So last update was March 22nd. But you'll get my point, right? So, for example, Rafael Leao, okay? So the forward for AC Milan, right? He is worth on the market today. So if you buy it now, it's 0.285, right? It's like 60% of the Van Dijk price, right? And there's no way like that people would actually like on FIFA or stuff like that. Like on FIFA, it's based on performance, based raw performance, right? I mean, it's subjective, right? But Leao is worth less than Van Dijk, which doesn't make sense to me. Militao is worth less than Van Dijk. Doesn't make sense to me. Jonathan David, the best striker in French Ligue 1 right now. The best goal scorer. Eduardo Camavinga worth less than Van Dijk. Ruben Diaz, Heung-min Son, Gavi is worth more or less than Vanitsek. So I mean, that doesn't make any sense to me, and I think it doesn't make sense to most people. And when you arrive to the platform, like having to like accept a new reality, I don't think that works with most people.
Skazmo said Vanazek is 2.5x Danny Parejo.
Salah is worthless. Mohamed Salah is worthless.
He's kind of an outlier, though, isn't he? Like, there aren't that many second division players that are like him. In fact, there's no one like him on the platform right now scoring. But like, I don't think it's not like we're flooded with second division players that are like this.
No. But like Vanitsek obviously is an example. But like they are like very consistent and like good SO5 scorers in second divisions that like are worth more than like similar type champion Europe players, right? If you check, like I think like Montfort, I always Adrien Monfrère, sorry. So Adrien Monfrère, his scoring has gone down a bit lately. But at one point when I won him in SO5, he was like on a 64 SO5 average. And at some point he was worth like, I don't know. 6 months ago, one card sold at auction for 0.371. And I can tell you that Benjamin Pavard was not selling at 0.371 at that time. And to me, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I just think it's not the game we're playing.
Yes, but is that normal?
There's no normal.
No, but is that like at the end of
the day? Should it be the game
we're
playing? Yeah.
Yeah, that's the question. And I mean, it does that make sense to like someone new coming to the platform and someone like seeing that like some players are worth way more than others based on the fact that they're scoring more on Sorare and not on the fact that, and I think that, yeah, if you have like a different division hierarchy, you can solve that problem, right? And that way also you're making sure that when people win rewards, they win rewards of players that they know and that they care about, right? Because if your champion Euro players become like the most valuable players on the platform and not Vanitsek and stuff, your tier 0s, your tier 1s are always players that are valuable because at least you know them and you have watched them play already. And then you can deliver stuff on the collectability aspect because you probably have deals that are way more interesting in Champion Europe than in second division, right? So you're going to say, oh, well, you got a Bayern Munich player or you got like, I don't know, a Manchester City player. Hey, continue collecting those because we have got some pretty cool experiences for people holding those cards.
Yeah, I think it's just it just totally changes the game. Victor was saying this will be solved when collecting becomes relevant. Then there'll be a premium on popular players. I actually disagree with this. Well, I agree with what Victor thinks, but I disagree that I think this is what Sorare is going to end up thinking. Like, I think they're going to be like,
no, I think they do. I think they do.
Well, I think they're going to say, collect everyone from, where the hell did he play again? Karl Ruscher, and get Benzema. And now we're still going back to buying all of these cards.
No, I'm saying that if you get experiences that are like rewarded to you based on like the number of cards of a club that you're collecting, then there will be a premium on cards. And obviously they're going to focus their efforts on like big clubs and not small clubs. And that I have a lot of pain in me by saying that because I know that not experiences are not going to happen anytime soon. I don't think so. Or I hope so, but I don't think that's the priority. But I think that there's a play in like collecting like big clubs players because at some point I think they're going to like go full speed on like people collecting those cards. Like Nicola just like sending free money to people on Twitter because they have a good collection. I mean, that's one thing, but I think they are going to focus way more on that.
I mean, theoretically, that should solve part of it. Like, it should make those players more attractive. Because you're right, like almost all of the prices of cards now are based on utility.
Yeah, and I think that's also why the bubble has popped a bit. Like, people stopped caring about like the star power of the player, right? I mean, Benzema to me was very like his value was for a long time so high, while you had like probably like, I don't know, 1 or 2 more years of utility with Benzema and some injuries. He was scoring pretty well, but so like, is it like a 1.5 ETH card? At some point it was a 2 ETH card. And like
I'm
probably
looking here, 3.1.
yeah, so probably at some point also people were like giving like they gave too much importance probably to like star power. And that probably changed in the past 6 months or something.
Yeah. Yep. Victor's saying there may be collecting premium on the reserves of good teams, and then good performers of unknown teams will be gaining premium. Only the top will have both. I guess that makes sense. If you're supposed to collect a club, then you still need to have the lower players on that club.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know how that is going to happen, to be honest. I don't know if they are going to drop like randomly stuff on people. That could be fun. Like random drops because you own X cards of one club. That can be a fun experience, right?
For sure.
Like fear on the market, right? Like, if you don't own this card, maybe you won't get the next drop, right? And like a rumor drops and like whatsoever. So I mean, yeah, they definitely should do that.
I wonder. Yeah, I mean, nobody would sell cards at that point. At least the bigger clubs. Like, why would you? You're giving up your opportunity to maybe get something.
Yeah, but I mean, so and you will be playing all your cards, so you won't be able to list them anymore. Does that affect your training lineups?
I assume so.
No, really?
I mean, so training lineups already were canceled if you sold a card. So
I didn't know. I saw that. So DD Sorare saying they are doing that in MLB if you own a Soto card to get a signed bat or ball from him.
Do you automatically get it, or you have a chance to get one?
No, I think you have a chance to get one.
Yeah, chance. Yeah, that's very different. Yeah,
probably John Nellis has like already have like a lot of like Soto collectibles, but they probably have some left for real MLB players. But yeah. I mean, yeah, I can't wait to see that happen on football.
Yeah, I hope it does. All right, we've gone long enough. You have things to work on, as well as just, recovering. So thank you to everybody for joining us. If you have not liked the video, if you could please do so, subscribe to the channel if somehow you haven't done that as well. Yeah, thank you, everybody. Appreciate everybody live in the chat. And if you are watching the replay of this, the site's already back up, so don't worry about it. Everything's fixed. And for those of you who live here, site's also back up. We're all good. See, it's like it never happened. So thank you, everybody, for joining us. And what is next week? Yes, we'll be back next week. Oh.
So probably on Monday next week.
Okay.
Because I'm going to St. Louis next week, and also I'm going to Dallas, and I'm going to an undisclosed location after that. But so I'm flying to the US next week.
Yeah. Maybe I'll see you. Who knows? All right. Thank you, everyone, and we'll see you next week.